And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much you came back for more. Folks, incredible decision. Very, very good choice. We have a lot more for you. Got a great guest with you today. I've talked to this gentleman before, but not in depth about podcasting like we're going to do today. It's going to be awesome. Really can't wait. And this is the place to do that because this is the place that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters. It's done by podcasters. This is the place where we come together to lift each other up. And folks, this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing and bring in our guest today. Please welcome author, podcaster, creative, coach, advocate, husband, father, forgiven, Alan C. Paul, host of the God and Gigs show, plus two more, author of God and Gigs: Succeed as a Musician Without Sacrificing Your Faith. Alan, how you doing today, man?
Rory, number one, can I please package your introduction and carry it around with me everywhere I go? That is just the best between your voice, your delivery. Man, okay. I'm just gonna enjoy this because I know it's my second time on with you, but around fellow podcasters, I think you are, A1 on the level of introduction, my brother.
I appreciate that so much. This is why I bring him on, folks. It's because he says all these wonderful things. And yeah, I'm going to have to give him $20 when this is over. So don't let him kid
Mutual
you.
Admiration Society, brother. Mutual Admiration Society.
I love it. All right. So, hey, Alan, I know everybody heard that intro now, and now they're wondering, like, who is this guy? What's the story? So, give an idea. Who is Alan C. Paul? What are you about, and what brings you here today, brother?
Well, you did such a good job, man. You already read the four words that I only care about in terms of what's going to be on my tombstone: the husband, father, creative, and forgiven. So that really just, tell everybody what I'm all about. I'm about being a great husband, trying to be a better one to my wife of 28 years, Leah, husband, father of three kids. We're all grown, but made me a better man because they put up with their dad. Creative is the side where we're here about now, right? The podcasting. I've been a musician for, well, like my mom says, since I was 2 or 3 years old. I just trust her on that one. But professionally playing music for the last 30, 40 years. Absolutely enjoyed that part of my life as a creative. And also then podcasting came in and about 10 years ago, 8, 10 years ago or so. And that is now a big part of my life where I produce shows and I produced a God and Gig show and I produce other shows for my church. And as I mentioned, the forgiven part, hey, that's a part of my story. I'm a faith focused creator. I do believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And so that has informed how I navigate through this creative space, which can get super crazy, super mentally taxing. I'll tell you a story later this morning about how taxing it can get and how, this whole podcasting thing can literally make you want to pull your hair out. I don't have any to pull out except for the beard. So it has absolutely been a joy to be in the creator lifestyle. That's what I really enjoy about it, man. I get to experience who I am and express who I am through these different mediums: music, podcasting, creative coaching. It's all about just helping people to be the people that they can be and produce what they can produce and make the world a better place.
I love it. You said all that so beautifully. And it's funny. You call yourself a creator, but you like really are in fact just a creator at heart with everything that you do. I mean, we're talking, three podcasts, first of all. You know what I mean? Books, music, the whole bit. Tell everybody what the other two podcasts are. You have God and Gigs, so maybe
Yeah.
start there. God and Gigs, tell us about that one. What's the
Okay.
story with that one? And then, let us know the other two.
Well, God and Gigs is basically the story of my life in a sense, because as I mentioned, everything I do has been around faith, around my work in the church. I started playing in church around 14, 15 years old. My mom made me do it, right? You had to play for the youth choir. But then I was already learning classical, learning jazz through college. And so that part of my life has already always been there in terms of the God factor of being in church. But then the gigs part came up when I realized that I wasn't going to be a full-time minister my whole life. Believe it or not, I left two jobs. I left from being a full-time teacher because I couldn't handle it. And then God's like, yeah, you're not going to be a full-time minister for your entire life because I was in that particular profession. So then it's like, how do I do this? So I end up playing for this blues club, going back into the gig world, which for gigs, you guys, music, we consider it gigs, but really anything can be a gig. Entrepreneur, uh, Uber, like you name it, right? It's basically your gig is your other profession, your work, your hustle, whatever you want to call it. So I had to get back into gigging to make some income after I left this other job. And I'm in there playing in a blues club for some $50 and some fish dip. And realizing I don't know how to make it as a musician. I don't know how to be a professional at this. I need to find some people who do. And so I ended up calling some people, doing some interviews, created a book, which is God and Gigs, How to Succeed as a Musician Without Sacrificing Your Faith, 7 steps to that, and realized that musicians don't always read books. So maybe I should make a podcast as well, so that there's an audio version
All
of the
right.
book. So that's where God and Gigs came from. How to help musicians, artists, creators, now all kinds of creators to succeed, thrive, and to have this creator lifestyle without sacrificing their faith, their values, or what their character calls them to. And you mentioned the other two podcasts, so I can talk about that later. But yeah, it all started from God and Gigs and creating a resource that I knew I needed myself.
Yeah, no, I love it. If you don't mind, go ahead and tell them about the other podcasts. I mean, because they're wondering right now, okay, he's got this one. And we're talking to podcasters right now. So let's cut to
Yep.
the chase a little bit. What are your other two podcasts and what are those about?
So the other two podcasts came because of a result of God and Gigs. So that's why I like to set it up, right? So
Hmm.
I start this podcast really as a reaction to say I need to try something to reach people who I'm not sure are going to find this particular resource, right? So musicians, I figure, okay, I'm going to just jump into my mom's pool room, the garage. Actually, it was a garage, and just start recording. So that's 2017. Podcasting is not really a thing yet, right? So I started that show, had a co-host back then, and learned the ropes. Fast forward to 2020, we had the pandemic, right? So everybody gets into it. Now, podcast really got in gigs starts to soar a little bit because I'm getting these huge guests, Grammy winners, Emmy winners, who have nothing else to do because they're at home. So that's where my podcast kind of said, okay, this is a thing now. This is a real thing. 2021, my pastor at my church, remember, I'm now working at a new church now. After I left the previous one, I go to the new one that I've been there now for 15 years, 16 years. And my pastor says, Alan, I see you doing this God and Gigs thing. You have this podcast. You know what? I've always wanted to do a podcast. Why don't you produce ours? I produce my own show, sir, boss, pastor. I don't produce other people's shows. But lo and behold, I become a podcast producer of the Family Business with the Alessis. So, Family Business with the Alessis, as I tell people all the time, is basically the Brady Bunch in church. Put two families together, pastor marries pastor, they have a bunch of kids, their kids have a bunch of kids, and how do they survive inside this church where they're all working together? So that's the Family Business with the Alessis, and I was tasked, Roy, with creating and producing this show. So we're now on 7 seasons, 3 marriages, 3 grandkids being born during the show. So you can tell there's been an evolution that I've had to tell the story through. And they are incredible communicators. Thank God for pastors who know how to communicate. So the show runs itself, but I have to keep the wheels turning, right? And so the third show is, again, a little bit of a story behind it, just kind of give people context. There's a member of our church who formed her own podcast called My Morning Devotional. She got over 3 million downloads by herself, 5 minutes a day, doing a Bible study and a prayer. Literally on her own, just a solo podcaster. Allison is a rock star, okay? She's a rock star podcaster. I tell her all the time, like, how did she do this? But midway through, I think her third year, unfortunately, she had some health complications with pregnancy.
Hmm.
Realized she had to step back. Steps away from the show. Her listeners are like, they're just like, where do we go? This is the only place we can find this 5 minute, beautiful little tidbit of faith to start our days. We need you. And she's like, I can't go back. She comes to me and it's like, oh, Alan, sound familiar? There's a pattern that's happening, right? Hey, you're already doing a podcast.
Right.
Why don't you produce this one? And we'll get the 4 girls of the pastor's family of the aforementioned Family Business with the Alessis to be the new voice of my morning devotional. That's how the 3 shows come to be, my friend, through over and over again. Hey, you're already doing a podcast. Why don't you do Blake? So, yes, now we are doing 3 podcasts. My morning devotional has been ranked top 50 in religious podcast on Spotify. Has been incredible. 1,300 episodes, not all of ours. Allison did the majority of those, but we made it to 1,000, and now we've taken over since. So we've done 300 under the new leadership and the host. And yeah, man, it's been a journey, brother, of learning how to not only be a solo podcaster, but be a producer, to not just have my own vision, but carry someone else's vision. And how do I produce this in a show to still keep an audience that got comfortable with somebody else? And then be able to transfer that to some other host, still keep the audience, still give the cadence, still give them what they want, but now start to reform that brand so that the podcast still keeps its original flavor. That's been the journey. I know we can talk about that, but that's honestly how we ended up with three podcasts.
I mean, just wow, all the way around. I mean, I don't know what else to say except wow, because it's like, I
I mean,
mean,
you wouldn't believe it unless I told it like that. That's why I
you,
had to go all the way
no,
around the world.
I totally understand now. I get the setup. Yeah, so I tell you what, your next podcast is going to be called "Hey Alan,"
Oh
because
God.
that's what's coming next.
Please, no, no,
And
I
you
can't
know,
handle it. I can't handle it. But
right?
hey, whatever comes, comes. But it's too much of a joy now to say I wouldn't do it, but I don't see how I
Yeah.
can.
You brought up such a fantastic point, and of course, it's a great segue too, because the difference between doing a podcast, hosting it, sitting here, it's your show. The show is you. You are the show. I mean, you're one and the same. So taking over an established show with literally millions of downloads, um, my goodness, what sort of daunting task that must have been, and how did you handle it, and what were the obstacles you had to overcome? Because that just sounds like an incredibly difficult situation.
Well, I love the fact that I can tell the story on the back end. If I had been telling you while it was happening, you would have just seen like the scaredy cat, like, running for his life away from this situation. However, thank goodness for the community of podcasters, and I'm going to give a couple of shout outs here to some podcasters who you may not have heard of, but are legends to me, right? My mentors, as far as I'm concerned. So Misty Phillip is a podcaster, and now she's a CEO of a tech company, which is crazy. Again, another segue that for another time, another story for another time. But I went to her Spark, I think Spark Leadership Podcasting Conference. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but she has been podcasting for years in Houston. She's got a nationwide network of podcasters and creators, mostly ladies in the Christian space. So I was doing family business with the Alessis, and I'm thinking I need to connect with more podcasters in the faith space. So I went to Misty's conference. Later on, I find out about, oh, I'm going to be taking over my morning devotional. So I called Misty right away because it's like, how do I even, she's already in that space where she knows about ladies and Christian. So I said, okay, she's the person I need to talk to give me some kind of like, how do I even do this, right? Allison, thank goodness, had already kind of had a plan to start interviewing each of those new hosts while she was getting ready to give up the show. So we had kind of like this ramp down of Allison's voice to the other voices, but Allison's already planned that. What Misty helped me to see is, hey, organize it so that you take advantage of the strengths that you have. We're going from one podcast host to four. She's like the simplest thing in the world. One person per week. Take the entire week, let them get used to that voice. Next week, the next host. Next week, the next host. I'm telling you, that saved my life because here I am thinking we're going to have to design some crazy round robin thing where everybody gets a day. And how do I keep this logistically going? Right. So Misty's advice really helped me say, okay, let me just settle down. I'm not an organizer by practice, but I said, okay, let me get a spreadsheet out. Let's write down the topics. Let's write down when's recording day, who's going to record when am I get your entire week, and let's get it to the people, the team that we have. Thank goodness we do have a team where I don't have to do all the editing, right? So my job was just to keep the trains running. When is the podcast editing done? When is the recording done? Let's get it to the people so we can get all these things uploaded. And thank goodness we have a VA as well that Allison had who stayed on with us. Another key, keep the original team as much as possible. We didn't reinvent the wheel. We simply said, how can we refine the wheel, right, to work in this new way? But Kimmy, our VA, has been with Allison. She jumped right on board. She's like, whatever y'all need, let's keep the same process. So she's still doing our notes. She's still doing our uploads. So all of this was like a train that was like, okay, we're changing conductors, but the train is on the track. Don't change tracks, just change conductors. You know what I'm saying? So it was like
Wow.
so many of these little decisions made what seemed like you said, an impossible task. Allison working things out where she really did say, hey guys, I'm giving this to these people. I trust them. They're members of my church. They've literally helped me to navigate this issue that I have to lead the podcast for. Right. So they all kind of had this empathy already. So they were willing to go along with her when she said, "Hey, I need to give this to these next people." And my job was to simply make sure that they were as familiar as possible with the host so that they could tell their stories. And that's really how that transition happened.
Wow. I mean, before we go further, I would be remiss if I didn't, say, hey, I hope Allison's okay.
Oh, no, no, this is the best part of the story. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of burying the lead here. Um, a year later, we took over in March of 2024. Yeah, we took over in March of 2024. April, I think, was our official first day of actually changing over hosts. Um, May, Allison had her baby, her first baby,
Wow.
just as we hit 4 million downloads.
Nice.
So, like, it's incredible how obviously, just like you said, we don't shy away from faith here.
Right.
It is, you can't write a better story than both the baby she birthed in terms of the podcast, continuing on, and then having, okay, now wait for this one. This is the best. This is the best one. You guys ready for this? Guess what the initials of the baby is?
I couldn't possibly. Go ahead.
MMD.
MD. Nice.
MMD. My morning devotional,
Oh,
Millie May de la Mota.
nice. Now, was that intentional? Was that intentional on mom's
They
part?
say it wasn't. They say it
Something tells
wasn't.
me there was something up
I'm
here.
like, this can't possibly be a mistake or a coincidence. It's too perfect. But yeah, man, like it's just again, like she trusted us with her quote unquote baby,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And we just had to like make sure that we took care of it, and we're still trying to do the same thing to this day.
Nice. So she hasn't come back to the podcast yet. You guys are still running it?
That's a great question. Now, I've really, and here's the funny thing that for all the podcasters that are like, okay, audience, right? We've we continue with our old audience, but there's several people who have joined the podcast daily who never heard of Allison. Our byline at the beginning says we've partnered with Allison because we wanted to make sure in every single episode we honored the founder, right?
Sure.
We're never going to say, oh, we came up with this idea ourselves. No, 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 no. She's the founder. I don't want to get to legalese, but like I consider this her IP, right?
Sure.
However, there's many people who have never heard Allison. We introduced her a couple of times where she came back and did like our Christmas episodes. And I'll be honest with you, with the podcasters in this audience, we got some little bit of hate mail. Who is this lady? And why is she talking about herself like I'm like, we don't have a podcast if she doesn't do what she does. Of course, she can come in anytime she wants, right? She's got an open door policy to take over anytime she wants. Like if she wants this back, like honestly, I'm not going to say this, like I'm saying this putting words in her mouth. She would never do that, right? But if she wanted to take back over, who are we to say, no, you can't come back to the podcast you founded?
Right.
So she's been 100% on board with everything we've done. Obviously, now she's busy being a mom, but I would welcome her back to continue to come, like, to continue to share how did this even get started? She obviously knows what this is all about. She obviously has felt the generational change, right, as we move to these four different voices. So I would say, honestly, it's just this kind of like balancing act of we continue the original theme, we continue the original, all the sayings she used to say, we still say, right? We finished everyone with where your love is Jesus is strong, but where your latte is strong, but your love for Jesus is stronger. Like we kept her line, even though we're not coffee people, right? Like, because this is what people got to know as their daily, dude, a daily podcast, you have to be routine.
Yeah.
You have to have a routine. Like people wake up to this. So it's like it has to be what they're used to. And yet, like I said, develop a new sense of, oh, I love this person's voice too. I love their story too. I trust them too. So it's always this balancing act of keeping those two things in flux.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that she's good, the baby's good, everybody's good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm sure you guys will work that out if she decides she wants to come back at some point. But I love that you're still rocking and rolling with it. The now I know, my audience podcast. I coach podcasters too, so I mean, I
Yeah.
know right now that when you were telling that story, everybody's like, "Oh man, it's a great story," and then you said that word team, and
Mm.
every podcaster that was listening went, "What? Team? How'd they get that done?" And they just got out of paper and started taking notes. They pulled over the car. I mean, listen, they want to know. So every podcaster out there dreams of having a team one day to do the editing, do the promotion, so that all I have to do is walk in the door, talk, ABC 1, 2, 3, and then split. So tell everybody what kind of team you have in place. What did they do? How did that work? Just to make them all jealous for a minute.
All right. First thing I will say before I go into that is be careful what you wish for.
Oh, all right.
That's the first thing. Okay. Be careful what you wish for because everyone that thinks a team is nirvana, uh, you would be surprised at it's kind of like the more money, more problems type situation.
All right.
Like there's a love and a joy that you have as a solo podcaster to doing all the things and making all the decisions, and it's yours. And then, like I said, you take on somebody else who now you have to transmit that vision, that procedure, whatever it is. And anytime you get two people into the room, it starts to get a little more complicated. Now, that being said, it is a blessing to have a team. I'll start actually with God and Gigs because I think it's better for as a solo podcaster how I had to eventually find someone to help me out, right?
Okay.
So I do have a VA for God and Gigs. She's been with me for 3 years. So the fact is that I had to get to the point where it's like, hey, I'm not the best at everything. I'm not the best at Canva graphics. I'm not the best at organizing. I'm not the best at getting all the things together for my Buzzsprout. Like, I'm not the best at it. I do it because I have to do it. But what I'm really best at is communicating. I need to get more into what I do best and get out of the business of the things I don't do as well.
Right.
That does require, as we all know, the next word out of a team is cost,
Right.
right? Now, unless you have some buddies, you have some people who love, and I'm going to get to that next in terms of like finding people who can intern slash volunteer help. But my first person, I had to figure out, okay, this is not making a lot of money, but it won't make any money if I'm still trying to do all the things. So I did first learn how to bring on somebody, get onto Upwork. This is a big thing I did, by the way, to find my first team member. I read this book called, I think it's called, it's not You Incorporated. I gotta find the name of it. But basically, it's a hiring book for CEOs. And to hire a VA at whatever cost it was, which wasn't a low cost, I tried to follow the characteristics that a CEO would use to hire. Because my idea was eventually, if I want to scale and build a team, I need to learn how to hire. So, what better way to learn to hire than from my very first person? Pay attention to these things that they're looking for. What's an A player look like? What do I really want them to do? Can I explain what I want them to do? Do I go for someone that's done this for a million different podcasters who has like an agency vibe? Or do I go for someone who is inexperienced, by the way, which is what I went with, inexperienced but passionate, right? So
Okay.
I went with the inexperienced but passionate new hire who now has been with me for 3 years and now I consider a personal friend, right? So that's one of the first things about team, which is who are you bringing on the bus and what do you expect them to do once they're on the bus? Because so many of us think that, oh, we're just going to bring on somebody. If you can explain what you do and haven't done an SOP, haven't mapped out your requirements, mapped out your process, all you're doing is bring on somebody who's going to literally look at you and like, okay, now what? Okay, now what? Okay, now what? Okay, now what?
Right.
That's more mental space you could have been using for podcasting that you're not now your delegation has to be. So that's the thing I had to learn, man. Like delegating, learning what you want them to do, how you want them to do it, and what's the purpose of doing it. Like I said, more money, more problems, more people, more problems. You have to learn how to do that. Now, that being said, once you do, it does make the wheels turn much, much easier. So for Garden
Nice.
Gigs, I have one person. For family business, again, I get to work at a church where we do have some people who are already gifted in editing, already gifted in content creation. But she's been working with us for editing for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, over how long the podcast has been. But we did bring on a volunteer this last year. And again, someone who's passionate. She went with me to Podfest. You're aware of Podfest, right?
Oh
Podfest over
yeah.
in Orlando.
Oh yeah.
So we brought her along to Podfest, man. Like we're like, hey, just come meet some more podcasters. She's got her TikTok going, but she's never really been a podcaster. But she loves this stuff. And I keep telling her, like, we can't afford you. And she's like, yeah, you can't. That's why I do this for lawyers. But she does it. She does the VA stuff for lawyers, but she's also helping our podcast. So that's the other side. Find someone who loves your niche, loves to be around the stuff, loves to like be in your camp. And if you find someone like that, by all means, give them the keys, man. Like let them become a part of your world And yeah, you might find a team member that can be someone that takes some weight off of you.
Nice. Now, on your, let's start with God and Gigs. If you don't mind me asking, what does your VA do for you?
Okay, great question. So, number one, I have to realize that I oftentimes keep way too much in my bag. She's capable of doing way more than I'm probably going to tell you. Okay.
Sure.
But what she currently does is she does uploads, I do show notes mostly, but she then puts all the show notes into Buzzsprout, into our hosting platform. She does the follow-ups with the guests, helps book the guests, helps follow up with the guests, prepares everything for our website, so the pod page. So she'll prepare like when we do the URLs, you know what I mean? Like you switch the URL from like da 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 dot da 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 dot da 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 dot. So she'll prepare the pretty link that's, just the, got a gigs 346, right? So she prepares all of that and does a lot of that back end work so that let's say I'm just finishing this particular episode right now. Let's say I was going to send it to her. I will send her the MP3. I will send her the graphics of, let's say, the guests, but she'll format it for Canva. She'll format all the things so that I can, by the time it's up, I've maybe touched, again, I end up taking over things I shouldn't take over, but I maybe touched the hosting platform like once. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
might have gone back in and tweaked the title because I just don't because I want to be in charge of that. Like I want to make sure I get the title right, all those types of things. But overall, she's doing 90% of the back end of getting the episode from MP3 to distributed, published on all the different networks.
Interesting. Do you have her do any sort of promotion, that type of thing, or do you handle that, or are you just past that because you're so huge now?
No, no, no. It depends. I would say that's why I'm glad we're talking about God and Gigs because on God and Gigs, I've kept a lot of promotion. We've kind of gone back and forth with it, where she has done social media in the past, and then I said, you know what? Like, I feel like I've got a handle on this, and I feel like the voice. I'd rather keep the voice of that particular, like, outreach. But on the other shows, like I'm mentioning, I totally gave up on the social media and I said, no, you guys handle it. So for like my morning devotional, the hosts have taken over a lot of the social media promotion because they are the voice. So it makes more sense that they know what their audience is kind of listening for.
Mhm.
So it doesn't make any sense for me to be the voice of a social media platform that's targeted to, women in their 20s and 30s. Like I don't know that voice. So I'm never going to be the right person for that social media promotion. So they've taken that over. Our VA that I just mentioned for the volunteer who's helping out with the other show, she's got a passion for it. She's already on TikTok. I know nothing about TikTok. So she's taking over that platform. She's handling it. So it's always about how are you using this promotion and who's the best fit, right? To actually share that information, get the clips, get the social media platform that will connect with the audience so that they actually hear and feel what the show is all about. Because if they don't feel it through the social media, they're not going to click on it. You know what I
Right.
mean? They're not going to go to check out the episode. So you got to have the right match there. But yeah, it's kind of like, again, whatever size fits, that's what we do for that particular show.
Nice. Yeah, you probably are hanging on to too much of it, though. I mean, you're a control freak like I am, I think, right?
That's right. We're all closet perfectionists. I mean, I don't think, okay, maybe like I'm going to interview you for a second, right? I wonder if there is like a level of perfectionism that's almost required because once you're in this space, you control your voice, you control what's coming out. It is very hard. Like I said, I had to take over someone else's vision, but guarantee you, like in terms of the family business, yeah, my bosses, bosses slash pastors are 100% involved in everything. Like they don't do the physical work, but they want to know, hey, what's the title? Hey, what are we
Sure.
going to call this? So they are 100% like involved. There's no record and walk away for any of these people. You
Right. Yeah.
follow me? So I think there's a level of control that we all want and should want. It's just a matter of how you follow what I'm saying. Like I think you have to have a little bit of control issues to be a podcaster. You got to have a little bit.
100%. I'm one of the worst. I'm one of the most guilty ones in the whole world right now because, I've got three podcasts I'm doing just like you. I'm going out every day like you are. It's like, I do all of it. And then I also coach like, all kinds of folks
Oh
in
yeah,
two
so you're
different
good. See, that's the next level.
categories.
I haven't touched that yet. I can't even touch the coaching
So,
yet.
so I'm over here. That's why a long time ago, I just said, you know what? We don't edit. I'm done. If there's a mistake, it's in the podcast. That's part of my thing. I just could care less.
Love it,
this
but
point.
it's the mental space, and this is where I was going to get to, even like telling on myself, because it's like podcast therapy right now, right?
Right.
Um, because I'll tell you again, this is super vulnerable. But yo, like when I just said that we are going 5 minutes a day, every day, one podcast every single day, and then you realize when you wake up in the morning that someone's texting you that it's not up. Like, do you understand the kind of stress I was under? Like, we have just dropped the ball on, however many people that were literally waking up for their morning coffee and clicked the button and it wasn't there. So
Right.
that amount of responsibility and good pressure, again, I need a better system. Let's just be honest. I'm literally talking about this right now, real time. We're going to have a meeting with our team and be like, how do we improve our system? Because people are relying on this. This is part of their day. This is part of their, and we threw them off by not having the system directly where I didn't have to be the one that is the weak link in the chain, right?
Right.
You got to have redundancies. You got to have something in the plan where it's like, hey, if you do have a team, or even if you don't have a team, like, what's your backup plan? If something doesn't go through, the MP3 gets corrupted, how are you going to let your people know? You know what I mean? Like, is all these things that you got to think past just I just press record and play and go. No, you got to think through the entire system. And trust me, I'm not a systems guy. I'm a creator by heart. But I've learned more and more the value of systems to help us avoid those, oh my God, you know what I mean?
Right.
The sky is falling, the episode didn't load, the image is wrong, the captions are wrong, like all of that. You have to have like some backup plans in place so that you can always come back from a issue or something that pops up when your system fails you or when your team is not quite on par.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. People really do believe if they're not podcasters, they don't get this conversation at all.
Yeah.
They're over here going, wait a minute, you sit down, you talk, this is simple. What are you crying about?
Yeah, I wish that I would.
They have
For
no idea.
anyone that thinks this is not a job, that says podcasting is not a real job,
Right.
okay, come try it. Just come
Yep.
try it for 1 week. Try it for 1 week and tell me if it's not a real job.
They have no idea. I've been doing this. I'll tell you a quick story. I've been doing this for, years at this point, and this is what I do for my living. And everybody that I know knows it. Everyone my wife knows it. And the other day, one of these ladies at my wife's office, right? The postman comes in and goes, "Hey, if you know anybody, we need help at the post office." And she goes, "Hey, there you go. Tell your husband he can, go get a job." It's
Man,
like, wait a minute. Three podcasts and 30 coaching clients. I don't have a job. But that's the look. I mean, that really is the look.
yeah.
It's the reality of not being in the business and what it looks like to everybody else. We
Now
all have to kind
clearly
of accept that a little.
I could talk about this from obviously the musician side too. I mean, I've heard it all my life
Hmm.
about get a real job as a musician.
I'm
Same
sure.
situation. Oh, you just, I love this one. I wish I could play. I wish I could do this. I'm like, did you watch me haul in this big old keyboard, set it up 3 hours early, eat this cold sandwich that they served us from the back because they don't give us the real food? And did you see me get home at 2 o'clock last night when my wife is staring at me and I'm like, honey, it's a 3 hour gig. That's 2 hours away. Sorry, I'm going to get home at 2 a.m.
Right.
Like, this is the same situation I've dealt with. Honestly, I'm being very transparent. This is why I had to write the book and do the podcast because I had to explain to myself that there was validation in what I do.
Right.
Like, I had to tell myself that yes, God called me to do this crazy thing outside of the church where I basically go out and play for drunk people. Like, I had to tell myself this is a real profession, right?
Right. Yep.
And podcasting is the same thing. You might be in a niche that feels nothing like it's real, like important, right? You might be in comedy. You might be in like sharing something like you might be in a broadcast, right? Like whatever it is, you might say, okay, this isn't a real job because I'm not helping a real problem. Ask your listeners. Don't ask your neighbor. Ask your listeners if this is valuable. Because
Right.
if your listener sees it as valuable, it's real. It's a real service and it really helps people. And you deserve to kind of pat yourself on the back a little bit. And again, like you, I'm sure you know more than anyone, look for ways that it can be more and more valuable to you
Right.
so that you can actually, again, continue to help people. Like that's the message I hope is, I don't know if we're blabbering or what, but hopefully this is helping somebody because I know this is where I live all the time with this has become more and more my profession than my music has. And that's saying
Wow.
something. Like
Wow.
I would say, like, when you look at my byline on LinkedIn, I start with award-winning podcaster because thank God when I got to Spark, they gave me an award. I don't know why they gave me an award, but Spark gave me a Best Male Podcaster award or something. I don't know if I was the only one in the category. I don't know, but 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 that's the beginning. People know me more for my podcasting as producing in the Got a Gig show, and I've been playing piano for 35 years. So it can be a vehicle to find your passions and your interests and become something that you really enjoy, sharing and making a living doing. It can be. It's just a matter of, like you said, it's looking out at these little details that most people never notice.
Right. I love that. I love that. I'm babbling right now. You're giving gold to everybody. So
No,
they're
no,
they're
no.
all taking notes, and I'm just filling air, man. So it's good.
No, no, no. It's mutual babble. It's good babble, though. It's good
Beautiful.
babbling.
The no, you did, and hey, you don't have to give away the secret sauce or anything. And this is a little more personal in terms of the business aspect. But you did mention a couple of times, hey, the podcast is making money, but not that much money. You guys have monetized your podcasts. It sounds like yes, no. Am I allowed to ask that question?
Okay, first of all, like you said, it's not edited, so I think I lost you for a second, but hopefully I got the most of the question. You asked
Oh, okay.
about monetization.
Yeah, basically, have you monetized the podcast at this point? Because I think you said, hey, the podcast makes money, but it doesn't make that kind of money. At one point, you said that. So I was like,
Okay,
okay, I
yeah.
just wondered what your monetization experience has been with the various podcasts and, with, all the creation that you do.
All right, so I can start from the beginning of God and Gigs, which is to say, God and Gigs itself is, I would just say the podcast itself. I've never sold a sponsorship, never done anything where it's like, okay, the spot, this is sponsored by, and the podcast is actually like getting money for specific content creation. Not even done I think I've done a subscription maybe once and I just gave up right away. So I never really did that, right? Here's what I will say. The podcast, as I mentioned earlier in the earlier story, kind of like flip back, is the reason why I have a full-time job as a podcast producer. So if you really want to ask me, is God and Gigs monetized? Heck yes, because I have a full-time position as a podcast producer because of the first podcast I launched. So that's
Nice.
always my first answer. My first answer is don't look at just the numbers and the dollars and cents coming through the actual show. What
Right.
did the actual show make possible in your whatever, right? Your offers, your career, your skills, like that's a monetization. I am
Right.
monetized because I get paid to podcast now. But it wasn't specifically through that vehicle of, oh, I'm selling ads, revenue, so on, right? Okay, so
Cool.
that's a big overarching like my preaching moment. Individually, God and Gigs is basically a vehicle to sell the memberships and the courses and the coaching I do through God and Gigs 360. So that's the membership. And so now I have a vehicle where I am promoting that service through the podcast, right? So I am selling books, I'm selling merchandise, I'm selling all these things through the podcast. So that would be the monetization of that particular brand. Um, Family business with the lessies. We haven't really gone into it deep in terms of monetization. We are close to 4,000 hours on YouTube. So once we hit that 4,000 on YouTube, we will have monetization through the ads, which
Mhm.
is, won't be a lot, but it'll be good. And so we've never really pushed for any monetization on that one. Again, it's kind of like where it's a blessing that the church is able to support it. So we've never really asked our listeners for monetization. But again, things could change. We're definitely looking at like possibilities. My morning devotional is interesting. I watch Allison and I love her to death. So I'm not, if she listens, I don't want her to think I'm like putting her down. But I watched her kind of try to figure out this monetization thing as a solo podcaster through Spotify ads. Spotify, what's it called? Was it Anchor back when it was Anchor, and then they did the Spotify
Right.
for podcasters, and they had you read the thing.
Right.
And so I watched her do this for a while when I was just watching the show and I was listening, and I wasn't the producer. So when we did take over the show, my thought was there's a dedicated audience here that enjoys this and should be interested, as we found out, in watching it continue. Because when we left, they freaked out, right? So it's like, wait a minute, there's no way this should not be at least somewhat user audience supported because they have literally voted with their clicks that they want this to continue. So
Right.
what we did is because we had that connection of buy me a coffee, right? We had the coffee thing of the lattes and so on. So I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh yeah.
buymeacoffee.com.
Absolutely.
I said to myself, okay, what's the vehicle? Is it going to be Patreon? Is it going to be whatever? And buy me a coffee, man, because we're literally mentioning coffee throughout the entire episode. So basically, right after the end of every episode, we throw in a little dynamic ad. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this, check out links in the show notes. Check out our buy me a coffee. 5 seconds. Up to this date, we are up to four figures in revenue from just donations. Okay. And that's over 6 months. We started it in January, I think. So
That is
six
something,
months,
though.
that's something. So now we're like, okay, how can this increase? We talked about doing meetups because look at all the different people who are listening throughout the world, right? What if they were meeting up? What if they were connecting with each other? What if we do live shows? Could we sell tickets? We did a live show in Miami just to see what people would show up, right? So we're testing out different things with that particular audience to see because we could go sponsor. I'm not sure that's where we're gonna go, right? Because of the nature, it's so fast, it's 5 minutes. We want to make sure that we pick the right brand when it comes to like, something that's a religious podcast. So we're being very careful about that. I've had some people reach out to me,
Hmm.
but I'm I'd love it to stay audience supported. I would love to stay organic, audience supported for the monetization of that one, simply because I feel like that's the nature of that particular brand.
Love it. Yeah.
And then we'll just see where it goes from there.
I love that answer all the way. I mean, especially the way you started with the overarching umbrella that's the thing people forget about so often is that what you're doing, the podcast itself is such a vehicle towards other opportunities that, keep putting your content out, keep, doing it from the heart, keep doing what you love. It's going to pay off in some way, but everybody's like, "Oh, but I got to get 10,000 downloads so I can get a 15-cent ad." It's just
Man, like I said, there's this one young lady that I'm trying to follow. I'm trying to get her on the podcast soon because she's one of those that's like, hey, she's basically telling everybody, the gurus that you sold everyone a bill of goods in podcasting by the whole ad revenue situation, the CPMs and everything.
Yep.
And she's basically said what you just said, which is you should be, if you're a corporate kind of person or whatever your niche is, whatever, you should be trying to get into the rooms of the boardrooms of that niche where you're speaking to their, I don't know, right? Their annual shareholders meeting. Like you should be positioning yourself as the expert. And again, this doesn't work for every niche, right? And you're in
Right.
entertainment, it's slightly different. Entertainment's gonna be more like, well, it could be even in entertainment, like live shows and bringing people to you where they want to be a part of your network and your world, and they do want to get beyond just the click a ad, right? So yeah, I think it's just getting outside the box of, oh well, I have to do it this way to monetize. Alex, our friend Alex Sanfilippo, right at Podmatch,
Yeah.
he's always telling people like, hey, do it as a hobby, period, first, so that you love it, and then figure out the monetization, but never do it just for the money because you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
And I agree with that, like almost like 100%. If you do it for the love of the art or the subject you're talking about, eventually the monetization thing will just appear. Be like, oh, well, this makes sense. This makes sense. This creates value this way. But you're never like looking for the $1 million check as soon as the Joe Rogan stuff. Like that's where I think people go off wrong. And that's why they end up pod fading because they're
Yeah.
looking for the wrong thing.
Right. Love your answer, man. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. In the interest of time, and I don't want to keep you forever and forever because I know you got like more appointments today because you're such a popular guy.
Yeah,
But
right.
let me get my corny question in here to you. I can't wait to hear your answer on it. So,
Oh boy.
here's the corny question that I ask everybody on the podcast. All right. When it comes to doing your podcast, what is it about doing your podcast that you love the most?
Okay.
And what is it about doing your podcast that you just absolutely dislike, would like to throw out the window and never see again the most?
The most is the big question. All right, because there's many things I like and many things
Right?
I could throw out the window. Um, I would absolutely say this is going to be the corny answer, right, for the corny question, which is not a corny question to me at all. Um, I absolutely adore this part, like the talks with new people that I never would have met outside of podcasting. My network, they say the whole corny, your net worth is your network.
Right.
But it's true. Like I'm a millionaire in relationships, man. Like I am looking at people and having conversation. Literally the conversation I had just before this one. I don't want to do name dropping and the whole thing, right? But that's what you realize when you finish an episode with someone and they stay on with you for another hour, and you're just like, man, you're a CEO of blank, 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 blank. Don't you have other people to talk to? And you realize they're just enjoy talking.
Yeah.
So it literally is the whatever you want to call it, this technology, it has created a relationship engine, right? It's a relationship engine that we get to be a part of, and you're literally enjoying it and being a part of it all the time. So you're constantly getting that feedback. Again, I know this might be different for people that don't do interviews, right? But even if you're not doing interviews, you're still connecting with people outside of your show.
Yeah.
So I love that the most is that the interviews and the people I'm connecting with, podcasting is just a different beast, man. You know this. It's just a different kind of industry. I don't even like using the word industry, community. It's a different kind of community where there's so much synergy between people that you would never meet or never connect with. And then you get behind a mic and it's like, oh my gosh, we have so much in common. So that's the part I absolutely love. Would not trade that for a million things. I hate. Um, Obviously, this morning was a great example of what I hate. The pressure of the hit send, hit upload, the pressure of the publish. I'll put it like that. The pressure of the publish, the pressure of is the caption right? Is this right? Is this right? Did you get to the is it what's the JPEG resolution? Does this like all of that stuff, man? Even though I have gotten comfortable doing it, I could still throw it out the window because it just ends up being where you focus more on the details than the thing you just did. I'll go back and listen to episodes and I'll be like, what did we just do? Did we do that? Because all I remember is the pain of the last 3 hours of trying to format or edit this thing to get it exactly right. And the content gets lost because I'm
Yeah.
so focused on what's the detail? What's the thing? What's the thing? What's that waveform? Oh God, cut that and cut that cut these things. So when I get, and I don't mean the details aren't important. I mean, when I get caught up in them.
Right.
Does that make sense? So when I
Absolutely.
get caught up in it, I hate that feeling. So I don't want any more. If I could get rid of that feeling of the, like if I get rid of that, it would be the best profession in the world. But there is that level of, man, there's so many little things I have to pay attention to that I don't want to deal with. And again, even if you tell your VA to do it, that's what I'm saying. You still have to think about it. I just got to explain how to get it done. So I still have to think about it. I just have to make sure that I'm clear about making sure it all gets done. And as you just heard, when I don't explain it well, it doesn't get done. And now I got egg on my face. So this is what I would love to like just erase from the scheme of it. I know you can't because it's literally the technology that makes it happen.
I love that. I don't, I've almost 100 episodes on this particular podcast. Been asking that question to everybody. Never heard anybody say the pressure of the publish button. That's
It is,
just, that's
bro, like
beautiful.
it is. I mean, I wish it was again, like I'm living it, right? We're living it every single day we do this. And again, the joy of it is you get that privilege, right? You get the privilege of, okay, fail fast, fail often, the whole phrase, right? Let it out, send it out. I think Seth Godin said, ship it, right? Just ship it. Ship it, send it, let it do what it's going to do, like you do, no editing, whatever it is. People oftentimes love it when it has more mistakes. So that's again our perfectionist thing that we got to get over.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it is again a blessing and a curse at the same time.
I love it. Love it. All right, man. Listen, I appreciate everything you brought to the table today. It's been great talking about, this, which is different than last time we talked, but you're always a
Yeah.
fantastic guest, man. You're always absolutely just wonderful and lit up and energetic and, open and honest. I love interview. I would interview you like, every month if I could, just keep
Okay,
bringing
well,
you
you know
back
what?
on.
Let's not publish it. We'll just, we don't have to worry about publishing. Let's just talk, once a month, and then we get all the joy out of it. And everyone's like, okay, we're done with these guys.
Yeah. Oh, I have no hang up about hitting publish.
Oh, okay. See, that's the difference between you and me.
Oh yeah.
I am like sweating. I'm the meme where it's got the two buttons, and then the superhero. I'm that meme where it's like sweating to death.
I'm the guy on the side of the meme with the big mallet that just goes move, bang.
You're the what you call what's the thing with the gopher
Whack-a-mole,
thing,
right?
whack-a-mole. You're the whack-a-mole podcasting. I love
That's
it.
it. I'm like, go, just hit it, move on, I'm done. I love it, man. All right. Well, hey, I mean, your experience in podcasting is insane, and you've been around for more than a minute. So I'm actually can't wait to ask you this question. You've given a ton of advice throughout the program. So if you need to double down on something, hey, feel free. If you've got some new
Hmm.
stuff, great. But I do like to kind of, wrap things up with, especially with somebody like you, man. What is your best piece of advice? Or if you need to throw a couple in there, you can build the platform up, whatever you got to do for
Yeah.
podcasters who are not quite where you are yet.
Mhm. Okay, so I love this question, man, because I'm going to basically kind of borrow from something I just interviewed someone else, and he said the same thing, and I'm just going to say it differently. Realizing when you say not where I am, realizing that I'm not where I'm supposed to be yet is the number one thing that should give everyone behind me like faith and like it's okay to be where you're at because all of us, and I know it might sound cheesy, but it's true. The joy of it and the thing that you should probably remember is that the journey is the destination thing.
Mhm.
It really is in podcasting. If you start with your first three episodes and you get three downloads for all of them, right? Like, let's just say you just have the most, it feels like crickets. It's number one, probably the worst you're ever going to do, right? Number two, you are learning as you go, just like all of us. You're learning as you go. And here's the part that I think people forget. There is a blessing in anonymity. Anonymity. I can't say the right word, right? But there's a blessing in that being hidden, being seen, unseen, being invisible, and feeling like no one's listening is your best chance to try whatever the heck you want. So get better at trying things when no one's paying attention. And then when people are paying attention, you'll be like, Rory, you'll be like, press play, press publish. I don't care. I'm going for it. So I would say to everyone that's not where I'm at, obviously the same message that everyone's probably telling you, keep podcasting, keep hitting publish, but really embrace that kind of freedom of trying new things. And don't think you got to get it perfect the first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 episodes. Everyone's right. You got to get to the first 50. You got to get to the first 100. Every guru that says the reps, it's true. But also, I'll take a thing from music here, rep the right things. Don't just practice to practice. Pick something to practice. Practice your intros. Hey, I like this intro for the try that. Reintroduce this, do this. Try to make it a little more systematic as you practice things so that you don't feel like you're just throwing everything up and hoping that it lands. So enjoy that time of working on your podcast while you have the kind of like the only few, the faithful few that are listening. But then continue to reiterate as you go so that you pick up these new little tricks along the way that make you better. And then last little bonus tip, please join a community. Podmatch, Podfest, you name it, right? Find a community of podcasters. Roy, you clearly got the Podcaster Nation. Get around other podcasters who know what you're going through. That's going to keep you going whenever you get so frustrated like I do and don't want to push publish. That's the number one, number two, I guess, 1A advice I would give.
I knew it would be great. I knew that's fantastic advice. It really, really, really is. I hope that everybody heard that, folks. If you need to rewind real quick and listen to that again, please do. I'll wait. I promise. We'll close the show in a second. You go ahead and just rewind, listen to Alan because the guy knows what he's talking about. He's been here for a minute. Brother, I appreciate you so much. I really do. I love having you on the show. I love the way you share everything. I love, when you come on here, you're just out there for the greater good all the time. And thank you, man, for coming on, doing everything you do, and for doing it here with us. I really appreciate you.
Roy, thank you for making this place. And just like you said, you should have rewound. You should already be following the Podcast Nation. I'm already going to be a follower. I'm going to be a faithful listener, and whatever monetization strategy he comes up with, I'm going to subscribe to that too. But absolutely, I love this, man. Thank you so much for being again just so rock solid in this profession and this place where we try to help make a difference for people, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Author, podcaster, husband, father, creative, forgiven, Alan Paul. Absolutely fantastic episode today. And this has been another episode of the Podcaster Nation, folks. It's the podcast where, it's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And today, just as every single day that we do this, this is truly the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So keep sailing.